Fear is a universal experience. It is something that touches every human heart at every stage of life and in every circumstance. From the smallest child trembling in the dark to the adult facing the uncertainty of tomorrow, fear manifests in countless forms. Yet, although it is universal, it is also deeply personal because each of us experiences it in a way that resonates with our unique fears, insecurities, and life experiences. Fear by itself is not a sign of weakness. It is a human response to the unknown, a mechanism designed to protect us, to alert us when danger is near, and to preserve life. But while fear can serve a protective role, it can also imprison us, paralyze us, and prevent us from embracing the life that has been meant for us. The question then is not whether we will encounter fear, for that is inevitable, but whether we will allow it to dominate us, shape our choices, and define our actions. It is in this space, the space between fear and faith, that the heart finds its true measure. Faith, when nurtured, when held close, and when allowed to guide the soul, transforms fear. It does not erase it instantly or magically, for fear is persistent and patient, but it changes the way we relate to it. Faith is not the absence of fear. Faith is the presence of trust in something greater than ourselves, something wiser than our limited understanding, and something infinitely more capable than our own fragile hearts. When faith takes root in the heart, fear is no longer a master but becomes a messenger. It teaches us about our limitations, our priorities, and the areas in which we must lean more fully upon guidance that transcends our human comprehension. Consider for a moment the countless moments in our lives when fear whispers lies. It tells us that we are not enough, that we are unworthy, that we will fail, that our dreams are too big, that our hearts are too fragile to endure. And in these moments, fear can be convincing. It can seem as if every possibility of failure is not just likely, but inevitable. Yet faith offers a quiet, persistent countervoice. Faith reminds us that there is a source of guidance, protection, and wisdom beyond our own perception. It reminds us that our value is not contingent upon flawless success or the approval of others, but upon the essence of who we are and the relationship we nurture with our Creator. Faith whispers that even in our moments of weakness, we are not abandoned. Even when the path seems unclear, it is not unreachable. And in that whisper, a remarkable transformation begins. The heart that once trembled at the thought of stepping forward begins to take cautious, deliberate steps. The mind that once imagined only worst-case scenarios begins to entertain the possibility of guidance, of support, of mercy, and of unforeseen blessings. Fear often thrives in isolation. When we face it alone, without a framework of understanding or a foundation of trust, it grows, consuming our energy and clouding our judgment. It magnifies small uncertainties into mountains and stretches fleeting doubts into endless chains of worry. Faith, on the other hand, reminds us that we are never truly alone. Even in our moments of deepest vulnerability, we are supported by a source of strength that transcends the physical and the visible. This realization is not theoretical, it is experiential. It is the calm that fills the chest during a storm, the resilience that allows the spirit to rise after repeated falls, the courage that surfaces even when the mind is screaming retreat. Faith and fear coexist, but the presence of faith shifts the balance. Instead of being consumed by the shadows of uncertainty, the heart becomes aware of light just beyond them. Instead of being paralyzed by what might go wrong, the soul begins to feel the pull of what is right, what is just, and what is possible. Many of us underestimate the subtle power of faith in ordinary, everyday moments. We think of it as something that manifests only in extraordinary circumstances, in miracles, or in life-altering events. Yet, faith is cultivated in small, quiet choices as much as in monumental decisions. It is choosing to speak kindly despite fear of rejection. It is choosing to act with integrity despite fear of loss. It is choosing to step forward when the next step is uncertain, knowing that guidance is near even when it cannot yet be seen. These choices, seemingly small, accumulate. They strengthen the heart, clarify the mind, and embolden the spirit. And over time, faith becomes not just a tool to manage fear, but a lens through which we view life itself. Fear, when left unchecked, can distort reality. It convinces us that obstacles are larger than they are, that challenges are insurmountable, that the path forward is impossible. Faith restores perspective. It does not make the obstacles vanish instantly, nor does it promise that trials will disappear. Instead, it reminds us that no trial is without wisdom, no difficulty is without a lesson, and no hardship is without the potential for growth. Faith reframes our understanding of fear. What once seemed a threat becomes an opportunity to practice patience, resilience, and trust. What once seemed a barrier becomes a bridge. The heart learns to walk even when the steps are unsure, because it knows that support is present even when unseen. It is important to recognize that cultivating faith in the face of fear is an ongoing journey. It is not linear, nor is it always easy. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when old anxieties resurface, when the heart questions whether it is capable of trust. And in these moments, the practice of faith becomes deliberate. It requires speaking to the heart, reminding the soul of past instances of guidance, recalling moments when unseen hands have steadied our steps, and reflecting on the depth of mercy that has carried us through previous trials. Faith is reinforced through remembrance, through reflection, and through conscious acknowledgement of the forces that have supported and protected us beyond our own ability. In overcoming fear through faith, patience is essential. Fear does not yield immediately, and faith does not always manifest as a dramatic transformation. Often, it is the quiet, steady presence in the heart that grows over time, eventually becoming stronger than the fear it once feared. This is why regular nurturing of faith is critical, through reflection, through prayer, through gratitude, and through acts that align the heart with what is sacred, meaningful, and enduring. Every small act of trust strengthens the foundation upon which the heart can stand firm. Every moment of surrender, every choice to believe despite doubt, is a brick in the structure of courage that will support us throughout life. One of the most profound aspects of faith is that it reminds us of our purpose. Fear often isolates, making us feel insignificant, powerless, or disconnected. Faith reconnects us to something larger than ourselves. It reminds us that our existence is not random, that our lives have meaning, and that even in uncertainty, there is a plan, a wisdom, and a guiding hand. When fear threatens to paralyze, faith calls the heart to action. It is the assurance that even when we do not fully see the path, taking steps aligned with our higher purpose is never in vain. The courage that emerges from faith is not the absence of trembling, but the determination to move forward regardless of it. We must also understand that fear and faith are not enemies, they are companions in the human experience. Fear signals our vulnerability, highlights areas that require attention, and alerts us to the unknown. Faith transforms that vulnerability into strength, illuminates areas where courage is required, and fills the unknown with trust rather than dread. In this way, fear becomes an instrument through which faith is exercised. Without fear, faith would have no arena to demonstrate its power. Without challenges and uncertainty, the soul would not have the opportunity to reach for support beyond itself. Ultimately, overcoming fear through faith is a journey of the heart. It is a cultivation of trust, a deepening of connection, and a persistent reminder that we are not alone, that our worth is intrinsic, and that guidance is always available. It is not a destination reached in a single moment, nor a state achieved through human effort alone. It is a continuous process of nurturing, reflecting, and practicing trust. With each step, the heart grows stronger, the mind clearer, and the spirit bolder. And in this process, we discover that fear, while inevitable, does not have to define our lives. Faith, when embraced fully, transforms fear from a source of limitation into a gateway for growth, courage, and purpose. Trusting in a higher purpose is one of the most transformative tools a human heart can possess. From the earliest moments of our lives, we are confronted with uncertainty. The world, in all its complexity, can feel unpredictable, overwhelming, and at times even hostile. Decisions must be made, responsibilities must be carried, and the unknown stretches endlessly before us. In these moments, fear often rises like a tide, threatening to sweep away clarity and courage. Yet when we anchor ourselves in trust not in our own limited abilities, but in a higher divine purpose, we discover a strength that transcends fear, a resilience that carries us through challenges, and a clarity that illuminates paths that once seemed shrouded in darkness. Trust in a higher purpose begins with the recognition that our lives are not random accidents, but parts of a grander design, intricately woven beyond our full comprehension. This understanding does not negate human effort, responsibility, or the need for wisdom, but it reframes our perspective on struggle, failure, and uncertainty. When fear arises, it often does so because we perceive the world as chaotic, our choices as precarious, and our outcomes as fragile. But through trust, we come to understand that there is a force beyond the immediate, a source of guidance that is both wise and just. This realization transforms fear into a challenge rather than a cage, uncertainty into opportunity rather than paralysis, and vulnerability into a doorway for growth. The first step in cultivating trust in a higher purpose is awareness. Awareness that our understanding is limited, that our knowledge is finite, and that what we perceive as obstacles may, in fact, be steps in a greater journey. Fear thrives when we see only the immediate, when we focus solely on what might go wrong. Trust, however, redirects attention to what is enduring, to what is unseen but real, and to the guidance that is always present. It asks the heart to take a step even when the path is unclear, to act with integrity even when outcomes are uncertain, and to embrace patience even when the pace of progress feels slow. In this way, trust transforms fear from a paralyzing force into a motivator for reflection, deliberate action, and reliance on the divine wisdom that governs life. Every human being encounters moments that test the depth of their trust. There are times when illness strikes unexpectedly, relationships falter, dreams are delayed, and circumstances appear to spiral beyond control. In these moments, fear is natural. It is a response to the unknown, a signal that the heart and mind are processing potential loss, danger, or disappointment. Yet, it is precisely in these moments that trust in a higher purpose proves its power. The heart that has cultivated trust recognizes that adversity is not meaningless, that challenges are not punishments, and that trials are not arbitrary. Instead, each difficulty is a chance to deepen reliance on the unseen, to exercise patience, and to grow in resilience. Trust allows the heart to perceive obstacles not as threats, but as opportunities for guidance, reflection, and transformation. It is essential to recognize that trust is not passive. It does not demand that we sit idle, hoping that circumstances will resolve themselves. Rather, trust in a higher purpose motivates deliberate action, inspired decision-making, and conscious alignment with values that reflect divine wisdom. When the heart trusts that there is a greater purpose at work, it gains courage to act even amidst fear, clarity to make choices even when uncertainty looms, and patience to wait for outcomes that unfold in their own time. Trust transforms fear-driven hesitation into purposeful movement, doubt into discernment, and anxiety into measured anticipation. Trust also nurtures perspective. Fear has a tendency to magnify difficulties, distort reality, and convince the heart that challenges are insurmountable. When the mind is clouded by fear, every obstacle looms larger than it truly is, and every decision feels like a potential catastrophe. Trust, in contrast, offers a lens through which challenges can be seen in proportion, through which setbacks can be understood as temporary, and through which opportunities for growth and guidance become visible. This perspective does not diminish the reality of difficulty, but it illuminates a path forward, reminding the heart that no trial is without meaning, no hardship without purpose, and no moment without potential for wisdom. The cultivation of trust requires patience, reflection, and intentionality. It is strengthened through prayer, contemplation, and remembrance of past experiences in which guidance was evident even when unseen. When fear threatens to dominate, recalling moments of past support, resilience, and unexpected provision anchors the heart. Each instance in which trust was honored, each decision made with reliance on divine guidance, and each challenge met with patience builds a foundation of faith that is impervious to future uncertainty. Trust, like any virtue, is strengthened through repeated practice, reflection, and conscious acknowledgement of the enduring wisdom and support that surrounds us. Trust in a higher purpose also transforms the experience of responsibility. Human beings are often burdened by the weight of decision-making, fearing that one wrong choice will lead to disaster or that our inadequacy will be exposed. Fear in these moments can be overwhelming, convincing the heart to retreat, procrastinate, or abandon action entirely. Trust, however, reframes responsibility. It teaches that while our efforts matter, they are not the sole determinants of outcomes, and that guidance, timing, and providence work alongside our sincere efforts. This understanding does not absolve us of accountability, but it allows the heart to act without being paralyzed by fear, to make decisions with diligence, and to carry responsibilities with humility and hope. Another dimension of trust in a higher purpose is the recognition of divine timing. Fear often arises when life does not unfold according to our expectations, when results are delayed, or when outcomes differ from our plans. Trust invites the heart to embrace patience, understanding that delay is not denial and divergence is not failure. The timing of events, the unfolding of circumstances, and the arrangement of outcomes are governed by wisdom beyond our comprehension. Trust allows the heart to wait without anxiety, to persist without despair, and to maintain hope even when uncertainty persists. It reassures the soul that every stage of life, every trial, and every victory has its proper moment, and that alignment with a higher purpose is more important than immediate gratification or humanly defined success. Trust also fosters resilience. When fear threatens to erode confidence, trust replenishes it. It reminds the heart that strength is not solely derived from personal capability, but from reliance on a source that is steadfast, wise, and unwavering. This resilience is not fragile. It is fortified through reflection, remembrance, and conscious surrender. The heart learns to endure, the mind learns to navigate, and the soul learns to persevere. In this way, trust does not merely counter fear. It equips the individual with the tools to rise above it, to act with courage, and to face uncertainty with a sense of calm determination. It is important to note that trust is deeply connected to humility. The human heart often resists acknowledging its limitations, preferring to believe that control and understanding are entirely within its grasp. Fear exploits this illusion, magnifying the perceived consequences of mistakes or miscalculations. Trust, in contrast, embraces humility. It acknowledges that human understanding is limited, that knowledge is incomplete, and that the unfolding of life is guided by wisdom far beyond what we perceive. This humility does not weaken the heart, it strengthens it, for it opens the door to reliance, guidance, and alignment with a higher purpose. Humility tempers fear, prevents despair, and fosters the clarity necessary for deliberate, purposeful action. Trust also cultivates gratitude. When the heart relies on a higher purpose, it becomes attentive to the signs of provision, guidance, and mercy that are often overlooked. Gratitude transforms perspective, softens fear, and nurtures resilience. It allows the heart to recognize that even amidst difficulty, blessings exist, lessons are being taught, and guidance is continuously present. This awareness strengthens trust, providing reinforcement against fear and cultivating a sense of peace that surpasses circumstance. The heart that trusts and is grateful moves through life with courage, clarity, and confidence, understanding that every moment, every challenge, and every triumph is part of a larger, purposeful design. ultimately trusting in a higher purpose. E empowers action. Fear seeks to immobilize. It convinces the heart that hesitation is safer than engagement, that retreat is wiser than courage, that inaction is preferable to risk. Trust counters this by providing a foundation of certainty amid uncertainty, hope amid doubt, and clarity amid confusion. It transforms the heart from a place of reactive anxiety into a space of intentional movement. Decisions are made with care but not paralyzed by fear. Steps are taken with caution but not halted by doubt. And challenges are faced with resilience but not avoided through despair. The journey of trust in a higher purpose is ongoing. It requires daily nurturing, continuous reflection, and deliberate alignment with values that honor divine guidance. It is strengthened through challenges, deepened through patience, and refined through reflection. Trust is a dynamic force, one that grows with each choice to rely on wisdom beyond our own, with each act of courage taken despite fear, and with each moment of surrender to guidance that cannot yet be fully seen. Over time, trust transforms the heart, the mind, and the soul. It allows the individual to approach life with serenity, courage, and clarity. Fear, while ever present, loses its power to dominate, manipulate, or paralyze because the heart has discovered a source of strength that transcends circumstance, a guidance that is unwavering, and a purpose that imbues every moment with meaning. Fear often distorts reality. It is one of the most subtle yet powerful forces in the human experience. When fear takes hold, the mind and heart perceive danger where there may be none, exaggerate the risks, and magnify the consequences of potential mistakes. It convinces us that the worst is inevitable, that our weaknesses define us, and that the unknown is insurmountable. Fear is not merely an emotional response, it is a lens, and through this lens, everything appears darker, more complicated, and more threatening than it truly is. It clouds judgment, narrows perception, and traps the heart in a cycle of doubt and anxiety. But faith has the power to restore clarity, recalibrate perception, and illuminate reality in its true proportions. Faith does not blind us to danger or negate the presence of obstacles. Rather, it provides a light by which we can see the truth more clearly, the courage to move forward despite uncertainty, and the wisdom to distinguish real threats from imagined ones. When fear distorts reality, it often does so by emphasizing the unknown. The human mind, when confronted with uncertainty, tends to fill the gaps with worst-case scenarios. What might happen becomes a series of inevitable disasters. Small risks are transformed into catastrophic threats, minor setbacks into irreversible failures, and temporary discomfort into permanent loss. This amplification of fear is natural, it is a survival mechanism, but it becomes detrimental when it dominates thought, inhibits action, and clouds judgment. Faith intervenes by providing perspective. It reminds the heart that the unknown is not to be feared endlessly, that every situation has layers unseen to our limited understanding, and that guidance and support exist even in circumstances that appear chaotic. Through faith, the heart learns to navigate uncertainty with composure, to differentiate between genuine danger and imagined catastrophe, and to act with confidence even when outcomes are not fully visible. Fear also distorts reality by exaggerating personal inadequacy. It convinces us that our flaws define us, that our weaknesses are insurmountable, and that we are incapable of handling challenges. In these moments, fear isolates the heart, making it believe that it is alone in its struggle, that no one can assist, and that no solution is possible. Faith, on the other hand, restores awareness of human resilience, divine support, and inner capacity. It reminds the heart that strength is not measured solely by personal ability, that limitations are opportunities for reliance on guidance, and that challenges are not insurmountable barriers, but invitations for growth and reflection. By cultivating faith, the heart learns to see reality not through the lens of self-doubt, but through the lens of potential, resilience, and divine provision. Another way fear distorts reality is by magnifying the perception of risk. Fear convinces us that the worst possible outcomes are not only possible, but probable. The mind fixates on negative possibilities, overestimates threats, and underestimates available resources, support, and solutions. This cognitive distortion paralyzes decision-making, promotes avoidance, and creates a sense of inevitability about negative outcomes. Faith, in contrast, balances perception. It does not eliminate risk, but it allows the heart to weigh probabilities more accurately, to recognize resources that may have been overlooked, and to approach challenges with both caution and courage. Through faith, the heart develops discernment, distinguishing between real dangers that require attention and exaggerated fears that can be released. Fear also distorts reality through its impact on time perception. When fear dominates, the present moment is overshadowed by imagined future catastrophes. The mind dwells on potential failures, anticipated rejections, and worst-case scenarios, often projecting them into distant, hypothetical realities. This preoccupation with future fears prevents the heart from fully experiencing the present, diminishes gratitude, and narrows focus to a cycle of worry. Faith reorients the heart to the present. It cultivates awareness that the future is not yet here, that guidance is continuous, and that each moment offers an opportunity for action, reflection, and reliance on support beyond ourselves. By anchoring the heart in the present, faith diminishes the magnifying effect of fear on imagined outcomes and restores clarity in perception. Fear also distorts relationships and interpersonal reality. When the heart is dominated by fear, it projects insecurities onto others, misinterprets intentions, and anticipates harm where there may be none. Fear magnifies criticism, exaggerates rejection, and fosters mistrust. It convinces the mind that protection is required at all costs, creating walls where connection might exist. Faith restores perspective in relationships. It reminds the heart of human fallibility, encourages compassion, and cultivates trust in both divine guidance and the genuine intentions of others. Faith allows the heart to see people as they are, rather than as a reflection of its own anxieties, and to respond with wisdom rather than reaction. Fear also distorts perception of past experiences. When fear dominates, past failures are remembered with disproportionate intensity, magnifying shame, regret, and doubt. Achievements are minimized, lessons overlooked, and growth undervalued. This distortion reinforces a narrative of inadequacy and helplessness, perpetuating fear into future endeavors. Faith reframes the past. It invites the heart to see challenges as opportunities for growth, mistakes as lessons rather than evidence of failure, and successes as reminders of resilience, provision, and capability. Through faith, the heart interprets the past in a way that empowers rather than debilitates, strengthening courage for the future. Fear can also distort moral and spiritual perception. It convinces the heart to act out of self-preservation rather than principle, to compromise values in the pursuit of security, and to avoid risks that align with truth. When fear dominates decision-making, actions are reactive, motives are clouded, and the soul becomes unsettled. Faith, however, restores alignment with principles, values, and purpose. It allows the heart to act with integrity even amidst fear, to embrace courage rooted in trust, and to prioritize what is right over what is expedient. Faith cultivates clarity in moral perception, ensuring that decisions reflect wisdom, integrity, and alignment with higher guidance rather than distortion. Driven by fear, fear also distorts perception of possibility and potential. When dominated by fear, the heart underestimates its capacity for growth, resilience, and success. Opportunities are dismissed as too risky, challenges are avoided, and dreams are truncated prematurely. Faith restores awareness of potential. It encourages the heart to step beyond comfort zones, to embrace challenges as avenues for development, and to trust in the guidance that accompanies courageous action. Through faith, the heart expands its perception of what is possible, overcoming the narrow lens that fear imposes. Fear can even distort perception of meaning and purpose. When fear dominates, life is experienced as a series of threats, challenges, and anxieties rather than as a meaningful journey. Decisions are reactive, moments are endured